Hey everyone, so it's been a while since we've addressed it, so it felt like a great time to do it. We have not talked about some tips and tricks for progressive lens wearers or that first time wear of progressive lenses. Hopefully you found this place because we're gonna have some fun, give you some good tips that you may or may have not gotten when you picked up the glasses. Let's dive into it and have some fun. Fun for me. All right, everyone, now on to the actual fun stuff. Well, again, more fun for me than for you maybe, but we're gonna get into it. So just a few tips and tricks for wearing progressive lenses, getting used to that very first pair of progressive lenses, as the case often is. So what we tend to go over in the shop is, and hopefully this was discussed when you picked up your glasses, it's easy to miss. I even fall guilty of it myself sometimes. But the canned version is when you put on those first glasses, depending on what your prescription is, it could take you a few days to a week or more to adjust to that new prescription. And now you're adding progressive lenses into the mix, and that gets really fun to begin with. But how to actually use these lenses is kind of the key here. And we're gonna use this guy as an example here, and we're gonna draw some lines and have some fun with it, or at least, I repeat, I'm gonna have some fun with it. I don't know if you're gonna have some fun with it. That shows up terribly on camera, but this is essentially how a progressive lens lays out. Let's say your pupil is right here in the lens. In general, that's going to be about 4 millimeters above that little progressive channel here. This is not to scale. Don't go looking at your lenses and expect that area there to be your out at arm's length vision. I promise you it's not going to work that way. But what you're looking at is your distance part of the lens is this area here for traditional T-barrels. That's most of what you're gonna see out there today in progressive lenses. Some other formats, but to keep it simple, this is kind of what we're looking at. This is what the big lens makers use pretty much across the board with some very minor tweaks here and there. That's gonna be a 4-drop or a 6-drop. And your distance, intermediate, and near zones. And the way that works is you have 0 add power up here. As you look down through that lens, you're going to get into this zone here, which depending on the manufacturer is going to be 40 to 60% of your full add power. Then as you get down into this one, is going to be 90 to 100. We very rarely see 100 in freeform designs, but that's going to be kind of how that works. This is your 90 to 100% zone. That's your full reading power. Now, if you're looking at this lens and going, well, what the hell is all of that? Well, that's exactly correct. Yeah, exactly. Well, this is where all of these curves are blended together. It's all this area over here and over here is how you get this channel and power through here. So they're kind of, depending on the lens design, that's going to be your swimmy or fuzzy or not clear or feels weird areas in the lens. Now, as you can imagine, this can be pretty fun to use if everything is lined up properly. It's all pretty natural. So you want to read something here, well, you don't want to try and do this to read it because that's not going to work. We already talked about that. You've got these fuzzy areas over here. So if you suddenly decide that you're going to try and look at this camera and read something over here with glancing at it, no, that's not going to work. You need to actually turn and look more straight on, pointing your nose at the reading material or the computer screen, as it may be, whatever you're looking at to read fonts on, however far away it is. Short version is you got to find that little spot in the lens that we talked about over here that is going to be more central to the lens. Essentially, it's going to be right under that pupil for out at arm's length, you guys, or all the way down here for the more fine up close. Essentially, because of the way that ramp in power works, it's a little bit gradual. It's not just hard lines like this straight across here, 40, 60, 80, 100 mess, but it is going to give you some range in those zones. That 40 to 60% is going to generally be from here to here-ish, and then your 12, 16 inch is going to be out of the very bottom of the lens. So that if you're trying to read, if I'm trying to look at the screen here, if I were wearing a progressive and if I needed to see that very sharply, I would be looking more out of this part of the lens, and you would notice that because I would be doing this for half of the video. If I were a smart optician, I would have a pair of glasses dedicated specifically to recording this content where I can see specifically out at arm's length only for that whole top part of the lens with just the near part at the bottom. There's tricks to make these things work for you because they are not designed to be perfect in every situation, but they are designed to work well in most situations. Now that's 5 minutes of just how to use the lens. Now let's get on to the actual tips for getting used to the glasses, right? Because that's what you're here for. And we're almost 5.5 minutes in and we're just now getting to that. So that's the how to use the lenses, the tips and tricks for those first few days. So we're actually going to get into here, and that is to be careful around steps. First of all, if this is your first time wearing an Add Power lens of any sort, I don't care if it's a line bifocal or a progressive or whatever sort of magic lens you've come up with, be careful around any sort of change going downhill, uphill, steps, anything like that. Use that guardrail, handrail. Don't drive your car off a cliff, people. Use that handrail as much as you can initially until you kind of get used to gauging that depth. It's going to be a little bit different going forward. You know, after a few days of doing this pretty regularly, it becomes much more natural. But at first, grab that handrail, actually drop your head down, look at that distance through the distance part of the lens. As we talked about, that's going to be more out of the top. So if you're trying to go downstairs and you just drop your eyes like this, it's going to be magnified. It's going to throw off that depth perception. And that's not really something you want to do and trip going down your stairs in your first day of progressive lenses. Unfortunately, I have seen it happen leaving the shop. No, not here, my shop. Prior lifetime, prior job, there was about a 6-inch step as soon as you walked out the door. Yeah, we had some fun with that one. Anyways, now, same thing when you're crossing a road. As I mentioned, we've got all these swimmy areas over here. So instead of trying to cut your eyes across, because inevitably you're going to drop them down a little bit more than you think, and you're going to be in that swimmy zone here, even if it were a perfect T flat across here, it's not. Then things aren't going to be super crisp off over here or off over here, and you might just not see that car coming or that bicyclist humming down the street right beside you. And trust me, neither one of you wants that crash. Car driver or the bike rider or you. None of you. None of you want that incident. So, what this amounts to is those very first few days, be extremely mindful of where things are and where you're looking through the lens. I don't say be hyper aware of it because then you're just going to drive yourself mad trying to find the perfect spot in the lens, and well, that doesn't really exist. Well, it does, but it's tiny. Yeah, anyways. You will drive yourself mad trying to do that. As far as actually finding that sweet reading distance we were talking about before, very gradual movements up and down. You don't want to be the one doing this, trying to find the spot over here, and you definitely don't want to be reading like that. No, trying to be the Santa Claus and Tim Allen with the magnifying glass to see the Santa Claus. It's the second one, by the way. It's almost Christmas, all right? We gotta have our fun holidays, right? Now, that should give you a really good start on progressive lenses and hopefully make the process a little bit easier. Part of it is just knowing going in, it's going to take a little bit more time to get used to the lenses, and it's going to take a little bit of time to build up that muscle memory to where instead of hunting for that spot, it just naturally is there. And that comes from just doing it over and over and over and over like anything else where you're building up that memory, and you just, one day, you look to read and you're looking out of the right spot of the lenses and you don't even think about it. And it's wonderful, and things are sharp and crisp and clear, and things are sharp all the way out there. You can see that car coming and that cyclist so you don't step out in front of them and get run over. I hope. Now, the negative side of that is if after a week or so you are not doing well, it's time to kind of consider what's going on. It could be the prescription, it could be the fit, it could be the lens design, it could be a number of factors. That's when you want to go talk to the optician and or the optometrist, ophthalmologist that did the prescription and the lenses. Start with the optician, of course, because they'll be able to troubleshoot if this is placed wrong, which doesn't work, or if it's possibly something with the fit of the frame or the prescription lenses, because all of these aspects matter in the new glasses. The key thing is that you actually put them on, you wear them, you don't take them off, you adjust, you take your time, you go through the steps. And after that week, if things are not getting better and you're still struggling to find places for anything to work and it's still not sharp, either at distance or near or wherever, then it's time to look at other problems and other avenues and possibly other solutions that aren't even that. And that's how I feel about that. So you guys have a great weekend, great day, great whatever it is. I don't even know. It's like Monday and I said weekend, so I have no excuse for that. If this video helped you out, let me know down in the comments below. Use that super thanks button on occasion. I'll catch you guys next time. Be sure to send this video to a friend that's starting to wear progressive lenses, preferably before they start wearing progressive lenses, because you don't want them to end up like you, right? Right? Come on. Be nice to your friends. I'll catch you guys next time.